Today we're back on the Stories About Kevin subreddit and it's gonna be so fun. I'm addicted to reading these wholesome stories, and yeah, there's so much more fun stuff to read on here. As always, thank you for joining me, guys. It means so much to me. And with that being said, enjoy. My new neighbours are Kevins and Kevinas. We had new neighbours move in on the 1st. We've had some interesting interactions with them already, and it's only been 3 days. This is going to be rough. On their first day here, husband and wife may be 25 to 30 years old. They knocked on our door to ask if our power was out. We said no, and they said that theirs was. I asked if their breaker switches were flipped. They had no clue what I was talking about. Not a big deal, not everyone knows about this, although they should. So I offered to come over and have a look. When I walked in their house, the lights were on. I was confused and I said, I thought your power was out. They said, it is. Our TV and Nintendo Switch won't turn on. I went over to the entertainment stand that they pointed at. They had the TV and the Switch plugged into a power bar. The power bar has a red light up switch on it to indicate whether it's turned on or off, and the light was off. I flipped the switch over and of course it worked. They didn't seem embarrassed or anything. Later that night we have another bang on the door. It's the neighbours. They say, are you sure the power isn't acting weird? Ours is out again. I asked them if all the power is out or just the TV and the Nintendo Switch. They say the TV and the Switch, so I tell them just to flip the light up button to on the power bar. They said they did and nothing happened. Reluctantly, I dragged my butt over there to have a look. They now have a few more things plugged into the power bar, like a Vincey candle, a charger of some sort, and their cable box. When plugging these others in, they unplug the TV to make room for the other cords. I let them know that your TV isn't plugged in, your Switch or cable won't show up on the screen. Lol. Once again, they weren't embarrassed. Yeah, but are they joking or something? Also, why do they keep getting you to come fix it? Fast forward to the next day, I can smell the scent of food really strongly. I can't make out what it is, but something smells off. Almost like a chemical smell mixed with spices or something. Anyway, I continue on with my day. The scent in the air the whole time. I'm out in my backyard doing some gardening when my neighbor yells at me over the fence, hey, do you like deer jerky? It didn't click in my head immediately. I said, yeah, I do. Why? You got some? He says, well, not yet, but I will soon. I'm smoking it in the basement. It instantly popped into my head to ask what the hell he's smoking it in, because it shouldn't smell like chemicals. So I ask him, you got your own meat smoker? He says, yeah, I made it myself. It's not that hard. Just need an old rain barrel pretty much. I said, a plastic rain barrel? Are you serious? He looked confused and said, yeah, why? I then explained to him about how plastic is toxic and when it's heated up, it's releasing all that onto your meat. He shrugged it off and said, no big deal, it'll be fine. Wow. That's so bad. Final story for tonight. Today their children, 6 and 8, were running around in our front yard. We don't really care if kids walk on our grass, as long as they stay out of the garden. They were wrestling and we had a good time watching them scrap out the front window for about 5 minutes. That was until the younger kid hurt the older kid. As soon as he heard him, he knew he was in trouble. He took off running through the garden, trampling all of my wife's flowers. His older brother followed and trampled over them some more. My wife and I went running out to tell them they can't do that. We told them nicely, didn't raise our voices or swear. They apologized and left. Not even 5 minutes after they left, the parents came banging on our door. Why are you telling our kids to F off? We were stunned and we explained the situation to them. Their response, our kids don't lie. I literally laughed. Instead of continuing to argue with someone that won't listen, I was just gonna walk away. As I was about to close the door, his wife pipes up, I don't get why you guys would be so mad about them wrecking some ugly flowers anyways. It's the city flowers. Like, why do you care so much? My wife went off. The city's flowers? Ugly flowers? Why the hell would these be the city's flowers? The neighbor's wife then responds, like, how dumb are you? All front yards are city property. Like, know your laws, idiot. That's when I shut the door. Wish me luck. Oh no, you don't need luck. You need new neighbors. That's awful. And kind of unbelievable as well. Genuinely hard to believe that people like this exist, but they do, and it's terrifying. That time Kevin thought he could understand Chinese. Pretty sure my sister is a Kevin. There are at least a dozen stories like this. We were out to eat at a Chinese restaurant. The waitress, who was Asian, came up to us and asked us what we'd like to order. In English, Kevina looked shocked and doesn't even wait for the waitress to leave as she loudly proclaims, I understood everything she said. My family looks at her in utter disbelief. As my mum explains to it, that that's because she spoke in English. Okay, that's too funny. Like, how were they not joking? Edit, another story as requested. So we're looking for a board game to play. There's a cabinet full of them at my parents' house. Inside the cabinet is a small black box, probably 8 inches tall and 12 long. She asked, what's that? It's a safe. Well, Kevina goes, how do you play it? What? Oh, these are so fun. I'm addicted to reading stories about people being stupid. They're so harmless and wholesome, but also ridiculous. You guys, my mum is a Kevin. Through the help of this subreddit, I now have a better understanding of my mum. I believe that my mum had a severe learning disability, coupled with learned helplessness. No, she's just a Kevin. There are so many, but here are some instances of Kevinness that come to mind. One, when given directions to go to the end of the block and find the parking, she shot back, how am I supposed to know what a block is? I don't remember that from school. After learning I have a gluten intolerance, she makes sure to buy foods that don't contain it. I brought you some gluten-free olives, gluten-free tomatoes, and gluten-free baby carrots. When I explain that gluten comes from wheat, she shoots back, well, I'm not wrong. Speaking of baby carrots, I love them. My mum, Kevin, tells me how horrible they are because they're packaged in cancer. The water inside is cancer. She yells at me anytime I eat them, unless they're the gluten-free type that she brings over. See, like this right here, how is that real? The first time she declared bankruptcy, the first out of 3 times, she said it was the furniture store's fault. She'd purchased a new living room set. Despite having money for it, she mistook the no payments for a year deal as meaning that you're not allowed to pay for this for a year. So by then the interest had made it far more expensive than the original money that was spent. The first time I brought my new boyfriend, now husband, over, she giggled and told me that she had something to show me. She walked me to her bathroom and said, I've never pooped so big in my... No way! I've never pooped so big in my life. I saved it to show you. It had been there for days. My husband still mentions this. Wait, no, we can't move on that fast. You're telling me they left a big poop in their toilet for days because they were so excited to show you? There's no way, right? How is that a real thing that somebody did? Gross and confusing. I bought her a laptop. It was a mistake. I spent the next year giving lesson after lesson. Simple things like how to make folders and organize pictures, how to use Google or Netflix. It was fruitless and caused a lot of fights between us. Eventually, she said the computer stopped turning on, and I viewed it as a blessing. After about 6 months of her complaining, I finally went over to see why it wouldn't turn on. It was not plugged in. I bought her a cell phone. She can never remember how to find the pictures that she's taken, how to access her email, and specifically how to connect it to her Wi-Fi to save data. She told me that she had the cable guy come out 3 times to see why it wouldn't connect, but it was simply broken. I went over, looked at the password that comes printed out on the router, typed it into her phone, and it connected. Kevin swears I should go into tech support. Despite being technologically inept, she sadly knows how to use Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, and daily she sends me Facebook links to gluten-free recipes and warnings about cancer in every product I use. I would respond daily, I'm not on Facebook and I can't view the link. Her solution was to screenshot the articles, take her phone to Walgreens, have the photo center people get the pictures off of her phone, print them, and then she'd physically mail them to me. What? I've received over 100 4x6 screenshots of spam since December. This is amazing. Speaking of Facebook, she believes everything. It's sad and annoying, but occasionally hilarious. My favorite was when she excitedly told me that this Halloween is the first in 666 years to fall on Friday the 13th. There are more, a lifetime's worth. I'll try and unrepress the memories and add them if they're wanted. Edit. Okay guys, here's another one. The light on my mum's bedroom fan has been broken for almost 10 years. Occasionally I've been in her room at night and commented on the dim lighting. She always said it was too expensive to fix. Just the other day I asked her if she knew what might be wrong and she replied, oh, the little chain just fell off. After coming down from the shock and bewilderment of this careless statement, I offered to buy a new one and connect it. Edit number 2. Sigh, I'm glad people are enjoying her stories. I guess it makes all the frustration worth it. Here's another recent fight we had. She bought us both colanders for our kitchens. They each have little metal handles that are attached with a small bolt and nut. A while ago, her handle fell off and she lost the bolt. She keeps asking me to take the nut and bolt off my colander to fix hers. I've explained that she can just take it to a hardware store and they'll find a replacement for her for pennies, but she just grows upset that I'm unwilling to help her. Edit 3, thank you for the gold. Almost makes this all worth it. Almost. Oh my god, that was amazing to read. That was so fun. I don't even know which one to focus on because they were all so good. Probably the one where they screenshotted stuff and then got that printed into photos and physically mailed it to them? That's hilarious. Your Honor, it's a false accusation. This story is from my law professor when I was in uni. He was a defense lawyer way back then and loved telling this story. So there was Kevin, stole a bike, and there were eyewitnesses and got caught. Before the trial, he said he'll confess to everything. This way he'd only get probation since it was a first offense and not even a high valued item, which was returned. But a few days before the trial, he changed his mind and said that he'll confess not guilty because the eyewitnesses were lying and it's all false accusation. Apparently a friend told him he could completely get away with it. My professor said there was a very slim chance, but Kevin changed his mind, so he had to go his way. On the day of the trial, they told Kevin that so-and-so person saw him stealing the bike, and they answered with this: Your Honor, that's what I was talking about. False accusation. I looked around before I took the bike and no one was there. Wow, what? The courtroom fell silent. My professor was facepalming and couldn't believe what happened. Even the judge couldn't say a word for a minute. I don't remember what his sentence was in the end, but Kevin was found guilty. My professor said it was the most idiotic way that he lost a trial. Wow, that's so funny. They're like, no, I didn't do it. Are you crazy? But this is how I did it. Very convincing. Father-in-law wants to paint the house. Years ago, my father-in-law needed to paint his house. They have no ability to do household projects, mostly because he has no common sense. When hubby was in high school, he helped his dad put up Christmas lights on their house. My husband was up on the ladder and father-in-law was on the ground. At one point, father-in-law tells my husband to hang onto the roof. My husband turned to ask him what he said, and father-in-law yanked the ladder right from under him. This is how bad they are with common sense and household projects. What, so really bad? So when the house needed new paint, my father-in-law asked and called my husband to help him paint. I went with my husband just in case they needed another set of hands. Father-in-law and stepmother-in-law owned a 2-story house at the time. I asked them how they planned to reach the second story to paint it, mostly because I didn't see a big ladder or any way to reach up that high. And then father-in-law told us his plan. He was going to pull his van right up next to the house. Then he was going to put a piece of plywood on the roof on top of the luggage rack of the van. He was then going to put a ladder on top of that, and then he or my husband could climb up and paint. Father-in-law said that the best part was the person on the ladder wouldn't even need to come down when they needed to move to another part of the house. The van could just be driven to the new spot with the person up on the ladder. This was the first time that stepmother-in-law had heard his plan. While my husband and I were still in shock over the stupidity of this plan, stepmother-in-law asked father-in-law if it would be more expensive to pay a professional to paint the house or to pay a doctor to fix the broken bones that were going to happen with his plan. Father-in-law was honestly shocked that we didn't see the brilliance of his plan. Wow, so they saw nothing wrong with this? Oh yeah, that's such a safe plan. Yeah, that one's kind of concerning. Kevina didn't know that dogs existed before the 1800s. This Kevina in my history class is strange. She asked the teacher what people did before dogs existed. Everyone thought she was joking. She said she was serious. Teacher had to carefully explain the history of dogs. After the explanation, she said, "What about dolphins and cats?" There are more stories like this, but this is the most recent. Also, after the explanation, she asked how cavemen hunted with Pomeranians and poodles. Oh my god, just the thought of that is so funny. The idea of a caveman having a Pomeranian and being like, "Oh, what is this? Beautiful fluffy little doggy." That's so cute and so funny. A very close call with my Kevin roommate. I've lived with this Kevin for over 2 years and she does a lot of things that make me wonder how she's even still alive. But this may have been the worst. This was last year when we had an extra roommate to help with the rent. This roommate happened to be a recently graduated physicist working for some Department of Defense contractor in the area. Basically the opposite of a Kevin. Quiet, polite, and chock full of common sense. Me and physicist roommate were working quietly in the kitchen when Kevin comes down the stairs. You can tell who it is because she's incredibly loud without trying or even noticing. She announces that she was reheating her leftovers for dinner. I saw Kevin take her food wrapped in foil out of the fridge and put it on the counter. Whatever, right? Wrong. We have a toaster oven and a microwave sitting right next to each other on the counter. You would think that Kevin would put her leftovers in the toaster oven to heat them up without getting soggy. But no, I look up again just in time to see her put the aluminium foil wrapped leftovers into the microwave. I immediately tell her to stop and ask her what she's doing. Kevin gives me a look and says that she's heating up her leftovers. Other roommate has also looked over by this point and is also alarmed. We both tell her that she can't put metal in the microwave, that she would absolutely break the microwave and quite possibly cause some type of electrical fire. Of course, they don't believe us because foil isn't metal. We look at each other in disbelief and we both go about trying to convince her that foil is indeed made of metal. Finally, other roommate has to pull up a periodic table and explain what happens when you put metal in a microwave. Kevin finally admits defeat but complains that she'll now have to eat cold food. We ask her why she doesn't just put the leftovers in the toaster oven, and she complains that it takes too long. And so we also suggest that she just unwraps the leftovers and puts them on the microwave. And then Kevin tells us that's too much effort. She eats her leftovers cold, and I contemplate how close we came to burning down our crappy apartment. So what, grabbing a bowl or something is too much effort? That's so funny. And I love how they're like, foil isn't made of metal. And in the end, they're like, oh, okay, I know it's not made of metal, but I suppose I'll trust you on this. As if they still think it's not made of metal. That's hilarious. Kevina and birth control. My friend Kevina got pregnant with her second child fairly soon after she had her first. When I heard the news, I called to congratulate her. Me, congrats on the baby. Kevina glumly, thanks, it was an accident though. Oh? Yeah, I mean, I was breastfeeding my first kid and that was supposed to prevent pregnancy. Were you using any other kind of birth control? No, of course not. This article I read in BS magazine said that this was foolproof. Okay. Did you know that it's still possible to get pregnant even though you're breastfeeding? Yeah, I never thought about it, but I would have guessed it was at least possible, yeah. Edited to add, a lot of folks have mentioned breastfeeding is indeed known to reduce a woman's fertility, but it's by no means foolproof. Yeah, and why would you just assume that it is? Like, oh yeah, it'll be right. Like, yeah, it's funny, but it's also concerning and sad. Kevin learns about menstruation cycles. This is a story about my girlfriend's college dorm neighbor, Kevin. My girlfriend was sitting in the living room of her dorm along with some female friends of hers. They were talking about nothing special when Kevin showed up. Kevin asked what the girls were talking about, but since they wanted to be left alone, they answered, oh, we're just comparing our menstruation cycles. They expected him to leave, but instead he sat down next to them and started thinking so hard you could see steam coming out of his ears. After some minutes of silence, he asked, do men need to do this too? The girls bursted out in laughter. Kevin realized that something must have gone wrong and started producing steam again. A few minutes later, his eyes brightened up and he yelled, oh, menstruation. I thought you meant masturbation. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, like the top comment says, that's actually funnier than stupid. Yeah, that's so funny. Like, oh no, that's not what you're talking about. Okay, bye now. Kevina knows that she dialed the right number. This is a recurring story. It happens many times a week with a few differences in each situation. Our home phone number is one digit from a local clinic. We have XXYY and they have XXXY. Besides that, they're exactly the same. Now, normally people will dial our number, realize the mistake and go on to dial the correct one. No big deal. It happens so much that it's more of a joke than an annoyance. The thing is, when a Kevina, usually older woman, calls, she will not have dialed it wrong and we have it wrong. It's kind of funny and kind of sad at the same time. Yeah, like everything we've read today. She dialed the right number and we're wrong for some reason. It's weird. It just happened today and here's how it went. Hi, I want to check up for my... No, sorry to interrupt. You didn't call the clinic. You called the wrong number. I tend to interrupt fast. I don't want to hear their private matters like cancer checkups and other kinds of health related problems. No, I dialed this number and it's the clinic. You must be mistaken. Yeah, but how are they mistaken? She hangs up and then calls again. Yeah, I had to schedule an appointment for... Ma'am, you dialed the wrong number. This is a private number. You need to dial this number. Nuh-uh, I dialed the right number. I have it written down on a post-it. What's wrong with you? Actually, the number is this and you dialed this. That's not what I have here. I need to talk to your boss. Oh my god. I don't have a boss. It's a house's number. So you're telling me that the radiologist number is a private number? Nice try. I hung up and then she dialed again. I picked up the phone and I hung up. She didn't call afterwards. I hope the clinic doesn't fire me. Yeah, okay. I don't even know what to say about this one. I feel like that's enough for today, guys. Let's read something wholesome. I don't know if I can handle any more of this today. These are so fun, but they're so concerning. Sometimes I wonder if I spoiled the cat, seeing him with his iPad in his yurt. Yeah, you know, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, they deserve it. Me, dog, me, suddenly drops down 2 inches. Dog. Oh my god. Are we about to have some fun? Oh my god. Is it playtime already? That's so cute. Please don't feed Kenny as he gets too fat. The face of disappointment. Oh, poor hungry Kenny. Like all I want to do is eat some food. Come on. I feel for you, buddy. Fruits and veggies cut into small pieces, please. I am but a small and delicate creature. Bread, I will attack it with all of my being. This is such an awesome art style. Love that so much. And once again, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time. And if you did, you know what to do. Make sure you like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And the comment of the day goes to that one YouTuber fan, 6900, from our latest Nice Guy episode. Reminder, just because a dude isn't constantly calling his girlfriend a queen or doesn't put her on a pedestal doesn't mean that he treats her bad. Yeah, 1000%. But all these nice guys are like, oh no, I'd treat them like a queen. And the fact that you're a different person than me must mean that I'm immediately nicer and would treat them so much better. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And yeah, guys, thank you for joining me on these adventures. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure you look after yourself and make sure you have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. And you know what I'm about to say because I say it every single day. Bye!